Wonderful. Well, I think we're all set. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hopefully we're covering all the time zones that people may be joining us from. Today we are kicking off our three-part exciting webinar series to kind of bring a little bit of Franklin to you. This is very much meant to be an opportunity for our prospective students, our admitted students, to connect a little bit more to our campus and to our current students. And so we will be kind of tackling three different topics over the next 3 weeks. So this week we are focusing on academics and the academic experience at Franklin. So just to introduce to you who's here today, my name is Petra and I work for the admissions office based off of our campus. I am joined by my colleagues Catherine and Kailing. So all three of us are based here on campus. You can always reach out to us and we're happy to answer any questions. We traditionally work with students that are located in Europe, Africa, Middle East, as well as Asia. So know that we are certainly here as a great resource for you. But along those lines, we also have asked 4 of our current students and one of our very recent alumni to join us. So today we are joined by Asa, Charles, Letizia, Oscar, as well as Tom, and they will be the ones kind of providing their background in terms of what their experience has been like at Franklin. So just to give a little bit of background, obviously Franklin is an American and Swiss university. We are celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. We are located in what you're seeing on your screen, currently the beautiful city of Lugano, which is basically located in the Italian-speaking part of Switzerland. So all the way in the southern region, which you can see highlighted in red on the map of Switzerland. This is a beautiful location to be. We've been here for 50 years and it very much kind of contributes to the full idea of what Franklin is. We are surrounded by more of a Mediterranean climate, kind of an actual architectural sense, and I think our students really kind of enjoy our location. It certainly connects us very well to the rest of the country, so the French-speaking side as well as the German-speaking side of Switzerland, and of course gets us very much kind of surrounded by all the different European countries such as Italy, France, Germany, and Austria. So the key thing kind of to Franklin that we really wanted to kind of cover today is that we follow the American liberal arts system of education. We point this out to students because naturally the title of liberal arts doesn't always kind of paint the full picture of what it actually means to kind of study in this system. This very much kind of describes an American university where many students have the opportunity to really explore their academic kind of backgrounds. In essence, students can look at a university and when they are applying, apply to the university as a whole, meaning that they truly have access to every single academic major or faculty that the university offers. And we'll certainly go into what Franklin has on offer for our students. But structurally, the main component is that students, besides obviously specializing into one academic area, which will be their major, they could certainly also do a double major or a combined major. They will also be asked to take classes across many different disciplines. We refer to it as having a core curriculum, so general classes everybody has to take regardless of what they're studying. This for us includes many classes such as foreign language, academic travel, also things kind of pertaining to history, to art history, to things in psychology and the sciences. So really kind of giving you a diversity of your academic background. And then following that up with also what's referred to as elective credits. And elective courses generally kind of means an opportunity for students to, again, explore secondary subjects that they may be interested in, or just an opportunity to kind of diversify their entire academic curriculum. This is very much to focus in that students are not necessarily kind of just taught in one particular academic subject, but are able to explore these different areas. So hopefully this will kind of come through as we share some of the questions that we will be asking the students in terms of their own experience. So one of our first questions to our students is, where did you go to high school? Tell us a little bit more about the location, the type of school that you attended, maybe the size of the school itself, just so we can kind of hear a little bit more about that. Letizia, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, of course. So I studied in Italy, in Treviso, in my hometown, and I went to Liceo. It's a specific high school which is very academic. and the focus is to prepare students for university and higher education. So my background is towards human science. I studied psychology, anthropology, pedagogy, and sociology, and social research, basically. I studied Latin, and in my high school, there was almost 2,000 students. Was a big high school where there were 5 type of main major, and yeah, that's it.
Great, thank you. Asa, you want to go next?
Sure. So I studied at Collège de Léman, which is an international high school just outside Geneva. My school had 3 different programs. We had IB, AP, or the Swiss Matura program. And I decided to take advanced placement. My graduating class was about 200, and the high school in total was about 1,000. And one thing which is very similar, if anyone is coming from an international high school background, is that it's very multicultural, and that's something we also have at Franklin.
Great. Charles?
So I went to high school in Zurich. I've lived in Switzerland ever since I was 7, so it's more of a home than the UK, where I'm originally from. But I went to an international school as well, same as Asa. However, my high school was only 400 kids, so the same size as Franklin. And my graduating class was 100 people, and we had the option to do AP or IB, and I did a mix of both. So I did IB diplomas and AP classes. So a good mix of both curriculum.
Great, thank you. Tom, would you like to share your experience? I think you may still be muted. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, for me, I studied first in Beijing, high school in Beijing for 1 year there. Then I moved to Zurich, an international boarding school near Zurich. It's called Rosenberg. And I studied there 2 years. And in that school, it teaches A-level system, which is British system. And I studied math and yeah, more like science subjects. And the school is about 600 kids around. And yeah, most of students went to UK or American after they graduate. Yeah, that's all about.
Great, thanks. And Oscar, last but not least.
Hello. Okay, so I'm originally from Mexico, but I moved when I was 15 to Switzerland, to Zug, to an international boarding school called Institut Montana. And I studied the IB there for the last 2 years. And the first year that I was there, I studied the IGES CSEs. And while I was there, I basically focused mainly on business and business management, on English language literature, and on, I think, economics. And well, yeah, basically it was the IB system. It was also a school of 400 kids. It was international, and we had 2 main systems that we could have chosen from, which was the Matura, which is a Swiss system, or the international system, which is the IB. And I chose the IB, obviously.
Great, thank you, everyone.
Hello, so I'm going to touch on the academic majors, but I'm not going down the list, as you can see from the list. We have actually quite a broad selection of which the students can take their pick from. But more importantly, I would like to emphasize that you do not have to already decide on a major when you first arrive on campus. So when students first arrive on campus, you will be assigned an academic advisor, who is usually a professor. So this academic advisor will be giving you advices along the way on the classes that you would like to, or the classes that you are eligible to take, and eventually that will help to pave the way towards the major that you are keen in taking. So don't worry too much about the majors for now. You will have time to think about it. So at Franklin, you will have 2 years to think about it. And that for now, it's more important that you know what are the majors that Franklin can actually offer you. So we have created this partnership program with Emerson College. So this program actually allows the students to study at both institutions and to take advantage of the academic programs that each offers. For now, I'm going to talk about the 3+1 program, which is the master's degree in one of the three fields, as you can see: publishing, journalism, media design, public relations. So for this program, students will finish their bachelor degree in Franklin for the first 3 years of the study. And over the summer of your 3rd year, you will be enrolled in Emerson, where you will finish with a master's degree in your 4th year of study. And for a degree program that we're offering, for the 2+2 program, where you will graduate with a bachelor in international and political communications, for the first 2 years, students will enroll in Franklin, followed by an optional summer immersion program, either in the Netherlands or Australia, and you will finish the second 2 years of study in Emerson. Upon graduation, students will receive an associate degree from Franklin and a bachelor degree from Emerson. So because of the time constraints for this webinar, I'm not going to into the details of the prerequisites for this program, but feel free to check out our website or ask a question later at the end of this webinar. So this is to our current students. Like maybe you would want to share to the prospective students, what is a typical class schedule like in Franklin, or rather what is your class schedule look like? Anyone wants to go first?
I can do it. I can start first. So, can you guys hear me all right? Okay. So basically, you should, the way it goes is you take normally 5 classes, which are distributed over the week. Usually, if you have a class on Monday, you'll have that same class on Thursday. If you have a class on Tuesday, you'll have that same class on Friday. And if you have a class on Wednesday, the chances are is that you have a double period. So it'll repeat, and then you won't have it twice in that week. You will only have it once. My classes currently right now are 3 business classes and 2 politics classes. I'm taking a business class, which is data mining. I'm taking an accounting class. I'm taking a management science class. And from politics, which is my minor, I'm taking a Pol 301, which is theories of international relations. And I'm taking my academic travel, which is, I'm sure we're going to talk about it later, but it's basically my travel that would have been to Namibia, and it's a class in sustainable development. That's my schedule.
So my schedule is completely different from Moss's because I am focusing more on communications and not history. But of course, I also have a travel course, and the travel course that I'm taking, or would have been taking, is a history course. So it does not apply to my class at all. It's just I wanted to do the history course because I thoroughly enjoyed history. Just sadly couldn't get it into a minor or a major thing, but the class is very interesting, and I was going to Ireland for that. And then the other classes that I'm doing is a 300 level art history class. I'm also doing a 200 level art history course, which is needed for my core requirement for my major, and then a comm class that is needed for my core requirement, and then another comm class which is needed for my core requirement. So my classes are based around my majors, but there's definitely room that allows you to just take the odd class, you know, in whatever subject you feel is something interesting and you just want to do it randomly. It's very interesting, and it allows you to branch out and see what else is there.
The courses that I'm taking this semester are more towards my major as well, so communication and media studies. I'm taking 3 communication courses, and one of them is my travel. It's going to Scotland, and 1 psychology class and 1 business course.
I'd like to also echo what Kai-Ling and Petra said about you really don't have to come into Franklin knowing what you're going to do. I came into Franklin, and it was only until my 3rd semester that I decided, okay, this is what I want to major in, this is what I want to focus in. So my first 2 semesters, sorry, I really just took a bunch of everything just to figure out what I liked, what I didn't like, And I think that's one of the really great parts about Franklin. You have time, you can figure out what you like to do, what you don't like to do. Since then, I've taken classes more geared towards my major, and it's now actually gotten to a point where everything I've taken, I've needed to take or I've wanted to take, and everything that's left, it's kind of left for a reason. I just registered for my final semester, and I was like, oh gosh, I don't have any classes that I necessarily want to take. So I'm almost now back to I've almost now closed the loop, and I'm back to the point where I can basically take whatever I want just because I've already done everything that I've wanted to do. So I think if you especially if you manage your time correctly, and also you have a plan and you put in what courses you want to take, you have a lot of flexibility at Franklin. I actually wrote a post about this on Adventures of Franklin, which you can find a link to from the FES website. So if you're interested, then just check that out. But yeah, I think class schedule wise, Franklin does a really good job. That's one of the things that's really good about Franklin.
So for me, in my freshman year, I did because I don't know what my major gonna be, so I just took so many elective classes, like science, like environmental science, and math, and writing class. Then gradually, I realized that I need like what my major gonna be. So I took all my major classes, but like it's a little bit late for me. So what I did is I took 6 classes in one semester. It's supposed to be 5. So I mean, I should realize earlier. So and I can get a better situation, and I don't need to be so rushed. So in my last year, like senior year, I took 6 classes. That's a little bit too much for me. So yeah, you just realize like. Yeah.
So what is your favorite class and why? And obviously, what has been your most challenging classes? Anyone?
I can also start because I started last time. I can start by saying that my most challenging classes have been all the classes that are math or number related, specifically those taught by Professor Dukovic, who teaches she teaches the class I'm taking right now, which is data mining. She teaches statistics. She teaches quantitative methods of dynamic forecasting, and she teaches management science. I've taken the first 3 classes that I just mentioned, and every single time it's my biggest struggle at Franklin. I mean, it's the hardest classes I can take, and I struggle a lot. But I always get through it because of my friends. In reality, they're not carrying me through the class, but they kind of are. They help me a lot, and they teach me everything that I need to know. But those are the hardest classes. And my favorite classes, I think I would have to say is, so far, it's Business 410, which is Organizational Behavior and Leadership, which is a business class. It's supposed to be taken as a senior. And it's the class you take before your capstone. And it's all about leadership and how organizations behave differently in different countries. It's a very international class, and it's a very fun class. It's very relaxed, but it's also very, very educational. So that's been my favorite class at Franklin, other than my academic travels, of course.
Thank you, Oscar. Anyone?
I'm in the same mindset as Oscar. You know, your academic travels can sometimes be very interesting classes because it's a very interesting thing, because sometimes, you know, you'll do a class that is not related to your major at all, but the travel itself is extraordinary, and it stays with you for the whole of Franklin. But I would definitely have to say one of my favorite classes is a art history class about disasters, and it's sort of looking at disasters in an artistic way of how it's being represented and how everything's been talked about. So it's a very challenging course because the 300 level class is right before you have to do your capstone. However, it's a very beneficial course because there's a lot of thinking and a lot of just going through the motions and finding everything that works. So it's a very, very good class, and I would definitely recommend it if someone's doing art history. But my most challenging courses definitely had to be the business classes that I've done, especially the 200 and 300 level classes, because once it gets past the 200 and 300 level, it gets a little bit more into the numbers, and I'm not strong with numbers either. So it's definitely a struggle for me, but it's definitely something that's beneficial and helps you in the long run, because it's definitely something that you can think about and talk about. So my business classes, I would have to say, are some of the hardest ones I've done, but overall it's been not too bad.
One of my favorite class is one that I'm taking right now this semester, Business 285, Integrated Marketing Communication, that combine my major with my minor of marketing. And we explore the communication process in relation of global business culture. So we study real life case studies, which is really practical. And my most challenging class was academic writing. During my freshman year, I took AP 113 and Writing 100, and it was really difficult for me at the beginning because I never actually write paper in English, but I received a lot of help and assistance from the professors, so it was really satisfying at the end.
So I agree with my peers that my favorite classes have been my academic travels, because it's one thing to learn about something and read about something in class, and it's something completely different to see it in person and see it up first. And when I'm coming towards the end of my time at Franklin, but when I look back at my time at Franklin, I'll definitely think about my travels and the memories I've gained from there. In terms of favorite class and most challenging class this semester, it's actually the same thing. And I think one of the reasons why it's my favorite class is because, one, it's interesting, it's sustainability science, but at the same time, it's also very challenging. It's a writing intensive class. We do a lot of writing assignments, and I'm learning to be a better writer, and I'm learning to be a better student in general from that class. So I think that's why I enjoyed it a lot. Along with I find the field of sustainability interesting because we're talking about climate change, biodiversity loss, energy use, and recently the COVID-19 pandemic. So yeah, I find it my favorite class because it's challenging and it's interesting.
So my favorite classes are also like travel classes, because it's just, I mean, we can go to a lot of like different places, like African, like Thailand, like Japan. I do remember also have traveled to Japan, so we can see like different world, like just experience different culture. That's pretty much like, that's pretty cool and very interesting. And what I feel very challenging is it's all about 300 level classes. Like it's just hard. Like you need to focus and you need to write a lot of things like paper. Yeah, that's pretty challenging for me. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you. So my name is Catherine, and I will be taking us through our last question with the students and through the end of the presentation. So thank you all for your answers so far. I'm going to change gears a little bit and talk about something that LinkedIn Learning published earlier this year for the top 5 soft skills that they saw companies were looking for in 2020. So we believe at Franklin, and I know Petra talked a little bit about, our liberal arts education, that our education should prepare our students for their futures wherever it takes them. As the nature of work is changing and at such a fast pace, the soft skills are important that will help you to ensure that you can be successful in whatever the future of work looks like. So my question I'd like to pose to the students now is, can you speak to how Franklin has helped you develop one or more of these skills that are listed on the screen? Is there anybody who would like to go first?
I definitely think Franklin, because of the size of Franklin, it allows you to be a little bit more, you can't hide. You're not a number to the professors. You're more of an actual person and a human. So you can talk to them and you can have that conversation outside of class time. And definitely for me, when I came to Franklin, I was a very completely different person from what I am today. And the reason because of this is because it's just, Franklin shows that you can't hide, and it makes you grow up as a person. And the one that I would definitely say is very big for me is persistence. No, sorry, not persistence, creativity. The reason why is because it's just, there's more than just one way of doing something. You're given freedom at Franklin to do a lot of different big projects in different ways. So not just writing a 10-page paper. It may be a 10-page paper with a presentation, or maybe an 8-minute long video. So it allows you to be a little bit more creative in what you want to do. And the paper itself is not simply a bog standard paper. You can also do a lot of different things in it. You can put links into that. You could be very creative and very allow you to sort of create something that's different. And I think that's something that sort of sticks with you, is that you're given this creativity, and it's rewarded, and it's sort of encouraged as well. So it's definitely a part of me that's sort of kept on growing ever since I've come to Franklin, because it's something that's not going to stop, because I'm still very creative as a person, and it's definitely creative in both art way, but also in a work way as well. I'm never just sort of looking in one direction and going for it. I'm very much thinking outside of the box.
Thank you.
I can go now, if that's okay. For me, I think the two skills I've worked on the most, it's persuasion and collaboration. In all honesty, I mean, Franklin is a small school, and I'm engaged in organizing events for students. And unlike in big schools, where if you have like 5% of the students showing up to events, it's still an event of 200 students, because it's such a big school. In Franklin, it's the other way around, because it's a small school. So if you only have a small percentage of the students showing up to an event, it's rather small. So what I have taken on to myself a lot is the skill of persuasion and persuading students to participate in events, to show up to different things that are happening, and to convince them that the event is worth going to. And that is something I've worked on a lot. And on the other hand is collaboration as well, because not only do you need students to show up to events, you also need them to help you plan the events and plan different situations. And all of that, I think I've developed a lot of Franklin. That's it for me.
I would say Franklin has helped me to develop my adaptability, and I already had. I think the ability to adapt is something that almost innately us as a society has to deal with because of globalization and the mass movement. I used to live in Africa. I grew up in a high school in Geneva, international school in Geneva, sorry. And so I've been used to dealing with change. But at Franklin, it's like that, but on steroids. Every year, every semester is different. Sometimes people leave, sometimes you change classes. And so you just need to be able to adapt on the fly like that. So I'd say that's what Franklin has definitely helped me continue to develop as a student and as a person.
I totally agree with my peers, and in my case, Franklin helped me a lot to know myself mentally and spiritually. And I strongly believe that Franklin as a period to develop all these skills. To me, especially collaboration, adaptability, and emotional intelligence. In my major, I have a lot of projects, and so you have to collaborate with with other students, with your peers. So you have to know how they think, how they feel about something, and you need to adapt to different cultures and different social environment around the campus.
So for me, what Franklin helped me mostly to develop is adaptability. So specifically, it's public speaking. So in Franklin, because we have small classes, so like each semester I have 3 or 4 presentations need to do. So I used to like to very shy, and I never did any like presentation in the class. when I was in high school, but Franklin is different. So I have to do presentation like each semester. So I just keep doing that. Then now, I mean, I feel much confidence to give speech in public. Yeah, that's most frankly helped me to develop.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. So a lot of the students were talking about academic travel as one of their most favorite classes. And I did want to remind you that next week we are doing another webinar that is focused solely on academic travel. And we'll be bringing our students back so that you can learn all about this signature program in more detail. So we really hope you can join us. Otherwise, of course, we will record it. And lastly, we wanted to open it up for any questions. I know we had some pre-submitted questions, but if you're here now and anything has come up, feel free to, I believe there's a raise your hand feature, or enter it into the Q&A chat. Just let us know. And then Petra, I believe that you have the pre-submitted questions. I'll pass it back to you.
Wonderful. So yes, so I wrote down what some of the students had submitted at the time of their registration for this webinar, so we can just kind of go through that information. So one of the questions that we received was that they would like to understand a little bit more about the foreign language requirement at Franklin. So obviously for us, we teach primarily in English, but we do include foreign language in our core curriculum. We do focus on the Swiss languages of German, Italian, and French. Students are provided with a lot of information as they're coming into Franklin to kind of self-place if they have experience with any of these languages prior to enrolling at Franklin. So if they're a native speaker of any of these languages, if they've already studied it in high school, we provide a guide in terms of what level they would be able to go into. But certainly during registration, they can speak to the professors to have a better understanding. But maybe it's a great opportunity to ask the students that are on this call now, if you guys want to kind of reflect back, what language did you take at Franklin? What was your kind of background coming in, and kind of what was your entire process with the foreign language requirement at Franklin?
So, I mean, I'll go. When I first came to Franklin, I was studying Spanish in history in high school, thinking that I was going to go into Italian when I came down to Franklin. That didn't work out. I did a semester in Italian, and I sort of realized it wasn't for me. Luckily, because I've been in Switzerland for 13 years, I'm able to speak German. So I switched over to German, and I'm just finishing up my language requirement. But it's definitely it's flexible, and I think the good thing about Lugano, if you're learning Italian, is that you get to practice it outside of the university. It's not just practicing inside the class. You're allowed to go down to, you have the opportunity, sorry, not allowed to, you have the opportunity to go downtown and actually speak the language that you're learning. And it's the same with German and French, because I know people who do day trips up to the northern part of Switzerland, which is where they prominently speak German. So it allows, because of the way that Franklin is, and the reason why I think the 3 languages that we have as the curriculum work so well is because we're able to practice them outside of class with both the local public, but also with other students, because there's a lot of students who come from different backgrounds. So there's a lot of German speakers on campus, there's a lot of Italian speakers on campus, and there's a lot of French speakers on campus. So yeah, I tried to learn a new language, realized I sort of wanted to finish off learning my German. So I've switched over to that. But yeah, I mean, it allows you to be a little bit flexible with what you want to do and how you want to do it.
I'm doing the same thing at Charles. The last semester, I started French, but then I realized it wasn't my language. So then I just choose Italian, and I just prefer to focus on other type of courses. But I strongly believe that languages in general are really important, and I'm actually studying German on my own. So it's definitely flexible, and it's a good opportunity that Franklin offers. See,
I wish I did what Leticia and Charles did, because I'm from Geneva, so I speak French, and so that's what I took when I came to Franklin, just to get the requirement out of the way. And now I ended up minoring in it, so it wasn't a bad thing. But I wish I took a semester of Italian or a semester of German just to learn that skill. Italian especially, like I've learned Italian over the years just from going downtown, ordering food, things like that. But I wish I took an Italian class just to really solidify that.
So I did you can go first.
You can go. Don't worry about it.
Oh, sure. So I did German up to 200 levels. So basically just to finish the language requirement. And I also learned a little bit Italian in downtown. I just hang out with my friends and learn some Italian in downtown. Yeah, that's pretty much.
And for me, it's a little bit in the contrary to Asa. I already spoke German, and I instead decided to learn a new language, which was Italian, and I liked it, but I think I would have actually much rather have continued my German to like perfect it, because I think Asa speaks French fluently, but I don't speak German that well. So I took Italian, but I still like it because like Charles said, you get to speak it downtown, and I get to practice it a lot more than I think I would with German. So, but yeah, that's my situation. So I'm already done with my language requirements, actually.
Like, so nice to see the diversity from all of you. I think the other thing that it's like something that I think is very common for Franklin students is that we do actually enjoy learning bits and pieces of other languages, even the ones that aren't offered at Franklin. So having so many native speakers of so many languages across campus, it's nice to see that you certainly hear it in your day-to-day. And I see that there's a great initiative that's happening right now with a little bit of language learning. I see that Greek is coming up next. I thought Danish was fantastic as well. So it's good to see a lot of initiatives from the students. Great. Another question that we had was pertaining to how do the courses at Franklin align with the core literacy general requirements specifically to USC, University of Southern California. So just to give a little bit of background, Franklin does have two different freshman abroad programs, one with the University of Southern California, the other one with Southern Methodist University in Texas. So for the students that are coming from USC, just so you know, obviously both Franklin and USC collaborate in order to put together a list of all the courses that are offered and how they would basically kind of count across the two different curriculums. So you do know well in advance in terms of which classes will fit into the USC general requirement system. Generally, for most students, they will have a mix of these general requirements as well as some electives, and USC is fully aware of that and does support you in that. You do work with an academic advisor, the same as our current students, so you have somebody that's there who's been provided this information and can certainly guide you the same way that USC provides you with an advisor, and you're able to kind of get the information that you need through that as well, but feel free to follow up. Another question that we had was about kind of exchange programs with other universities and things like that. So obviously we can cover this a little bit more in depth next week with the point of academic travel being a travel component that's associated kind of with our curriculum. Certainly students do also have the option to spend a semester, a year, or maybe some summer classes across different universities across the world. As you can imagine, with a Franklin type population, there's many different reasons as to why students want to study abroad. So some students use it as an opportunity to either try out different courses in an academic area that we don't offer, or more specialty courses. It could be an opportunity to study in a different country with a different language so that they can kind of better those skills. We are also seeing that quite a few students are using it as an opportunity to very much look at maybe where they would like to go for a graduate school or a master's program. So just kind of getting those ideas out there. But we leave it to the student to, again, work with their academic advisor based on where they would like to go, how they would like to go about it, and again, where it fits best kind of in their curriculum at Franklin. I don't believe any of you guys have studied abroad, but if I missed that, feel free to comment. Or if you know of a friend and things like that who have done it, you guys can also pitch in with that. Nope, they've all been very happy at Franklin. They haven't wanted to leave. Great. And then the last question that we had pre-submitted and things like that was, when do we choose our classes? And will there be any kind of a limit in terms of classes? And I guess if you guys maybe want to comment on, was it ever hard for you to get the class that you needed? Or how did that work just in terms of your scheduling?
I can help with that. So when you're a freshman, you come in, you do your whole orientation week, and at the end of the orientation week, you meet up with your assigned advisor, which is the same professor that leads your FYS, which is your first year seminar, and he will help you choose your first 5 classes. In the freshman year, because you haven't chosen your major in most of the cases, they're pretty varied. There's like a variation of classes you can take, and you can just go for whatever you want to. And then from then on, every semester, you choose your classes around 1 month before the semester ends. So right now, all of us just chose our classes for next semester. And for that, you can meet with your advisor, you can do it on your own, you can look at the academic plan, which you will be provided, you can look at self-service, and you can look at whatever you need to take and what you don't need to take. And so basically, yeah, you choose it before every semester.
I think just expanding on what Oscar said, you definitely get a lot of support from your academic advisor, especially because they are usually, especially when you go from your first academic advisor with your FYS, and if your FYS is the same as your major, then you stay with the same academic advisor. But usually when you do change, you do choose your new one, your new, what's it called? Your new major, then basically what it is you get the support that you need. I mean, I chose art history, and my professor, my advisor, is one of the heads of art history, so it allows me to sort of plan out everything accordingly. And there's definitely the times when a class has only been offered maybe once every 2 years, so you'll be told about that, and just by the way, you should do it now, so then you don't need to do it in your senior year. So there's a lot of help and a lot of support. And you don't get to the point where you don't run out of classes to do your credits. There can always be a way around it. There can always be a way of changing maybe the class title, so then it counts towards the core requirement if you can't do the core requirement at time. So there's a lot of help and a lot of leeway from the professors when it comes to choosing classes and choosing your major. So everything is sort of planned out, if you will, to an extent.
Thank you. So I think, Petra, you said that those were all of the pre-submitted questions. I did have one more question come through. So one of our students wants to know, to you students, how long did it take for you to adapt to your new life at university in Franklin and Lugano, whatever that means to you?
I think personally, it's very much, it depends on you as a person. I, coming from, an environment where I wasn't in boarding school, I was still at home. So the first year was sort of me exploring my freedom away from my parents, and sort of allowing myself to explore these different things that I wanted to do. But sadly, my freshman year, I was never really on campus the first semester because I was traveling all the time. And then second semester, I started realizing there was a lot of things on campus. So it really depends on the person. I know people who are on the dot straight away for first week of orientation. They have a giant group of friends, and they're already planning trips the whole semester. But then I also know people who are just doing spontaneous trips once in a blue moon. So the student life here is very fluid. You can do a lot of things. You can be one of those people who goes out and parties all the time, or you can be one of those people who likes to just stay indoors and just be around a group of friends. There's no sort of pressure to do something. You're sort of you have the option to do whatever you want, and there's nothing against it. I mean, people who like to go out partying may like a night in. So it really depends on how it all goes. But yeah, it takes time. It's definitely, for some people it's a week. For me, it was a semester to sort of get into the rhythm of it all.
For me, oh wait, do you want to go, Asa?
Sure, I'll go. I just wanted to add on to what Charles says. The short answer is it depends. The longer answer is I think I think people have two phases of Franklin. The first phase is that okay, this is my daily routine. This is where I'm going to study, and then you have the second phase if you're lucky to get there, which is okay, I'm going to stay here. So for me, the first part of like okay, this is my daily routine. This is where I'm comfortable for now, and this is where like I'm studying, and I accept that fact. That was probably a week after classes. Like I said before, adaptability is something which you learn in Franklin, you continue to develop. So that was that. For me, when I decided, okay, I think I'm going to stay here, because a lot of people end up coming in and out of Franklin. So the point for me when I decided that, okay, I'm going to stay here and I think I'm going to spend the rest of my undergraduate career here was the start of my second year when I helped out with orientation, because I was able to see what it's like to be on the other side. And so that really solidified my own that solidified my own sense of like, yes, this is where I belong. This is where I feel comfortable. Go ahead, Oscar.
I mean, for what I wanted to say is that for me, coming from a boarding school, I was already used to living alone. But then I wasn't, like in boarding school, you're free, but like you're halfway there, you know, you're independent, but you're halfway there because you still have to follow a lot of rules. And so this is mainly for students who come from boarding schools as well. So when I came to Franklin, it took me a while to adjust. Not a while, but like, yeah, at the beginning of the week, like the first week, like to adjust to the fact that I could actually make all of my own decisions. And that I had to make all of my own decisions, especially in regard to studying and to working. That was the hardest part for me. But then once you realize that you have to learn how to make your own decisions and you do that quickly, then you get adjusted pretty quickly. That was my case.
In my case, I remember my freshman year, the first semester, I was struggling and like kind of understand how old university works. So I was really focused on studying and understand the academic offer and everything. And the second semester, I felt more comfortable. So to go out and to, you know people and students and I started to feel more comfortable after one semester. But I totally agree with Haza with the two phases. It's totally true.
Wonderful, thank you. Anybody else want to comment on that?
So for me, in freshman year, like something called Moodle, like I never heard about that. It's basically the like website. It's like professors like post some very important information in Moodle and you submit homework there. So like for the email, like you keep in touch with the professor or other like school staffs. But I don't check it like email occasionally. Like I don't check every day. I just check occasionally. So like I miss so much like important information, and it really took me like 2 months to adapt a new life. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. So, really, if you want to continue the conversation, I wanted to remind everybody, if you haven't seen it yet, that on our website, you can chat with the students, the same students that we have here as well, in most cases. If you want to learn more about their experiences or ask them more questions about what their experiences have been like here at Franklin. And finally, I just want to end by saying thank you, big thank you to all of our students who are here, to Petra, to Kai-Ling, and to everyone who attended. So we hope that this gives you a little bit more of a feel about academics at Franklin University, Switzerland. And we hope you'll be able to join us for our next 2 webinars, where we will talk about academic travel, again, one of the favorite courses, and then we'll finish it up with life at Franklin and in Lugano. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Were you supposed to leave or?
I'm trying to end meeting. There we go. Bye.